Okay, so so this is my first live stream. Not really sure how it's going to go, how long it's going to be. Just sort of gonna roll with it. So I can see we've got a couple of people in already. I suppose we'll just wait for people to join in and hopefully add something in the chat, and we can get some chats going. So basically, I'm gonna try and set up a print for today. I've got one in mind already. I've got a Nintendo Switch Joy-Con grip, which I'm planning to print. So hopefully we can get that sorted and on the go. And fingers crossed, Octoprint will play ball with me because it hasn't been doing so recently. Having a few issues, although I have installed a powered hub now, so hopefully that will have resolved the issues that I'm having, which would be great. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with that. So Octoprint doesn't want to play ball with me at the moment, so no live printing, unfortunately. But that is what it is. So discuss what I've been doing recently with my printers. I've recently been printing off some tiles for Settlers of Catan. I've recently got some filament from Sunlu. Hey, Fernando, good to see you here. Recently got some filament from Sunlu, so I'm going to be putting that to the test. Got some wood filament. It's the first sort of wood filament that I've actually tested, so it'd be nice to see how that turns out. Fernando, how's the audio and everything? I haven't really tested anything out, so I'm not sure if anything's actually even working yet. It sounds like the audio is working because you seem to be responding to me. Hey, Skolder, good to see you here. Good stuff. Apparently everything's good with the stream, so that's a bonus. Winner. Okay, cool. Yeah, so as I was saying, I've recently been printing out some Settlers of Catan tiles I've used the wooden filament for the wood tiles. I thought that'd be a really cool sort of look to go with. The Sunlu filament, the wood one's not as like, I don't know, almost wood looking as I'd hope. It seems to just be more of like a beige almost, like a beigey brown. I don't know if it's just a bit too light to be considered a wood colour. But other than that, you know, it seems really easy to print actually. I've not tried any wood filament before, so I wasn't sure how well it would print or what kind of issues I'd face, but it seemed to work out pretty well. Did my standard temperature tower. Although I've noticed that with Sunlu filaments, actually, I've got my temperature towers here. I've never been able to get below, 175. So this was the wood filament. Like I say, you can see it's kind of like just like a light brown as opposed to like a wood finish. But I don't know whether but it's because I've not really done any wood printing before, if that's what I should be expecting or what. But similar sort of temperature results on the PLA Plus from Sunlu as well. This is their, I think it's ivory white. I really like the colour of this actually. Yeah, so that's that. What else I've been doing? Printed out some Dreamcast parts. So there's basically this thing that can emulate the CD drive of a Sega Dreamcast, and someone wanted something printing for it, so I just sort of whipped that on the printer for them. What is it makes of wood? I believe it's got wood in the plastic, sort of mixed with it, but I'm not 100% sure. That's what I would assume it is. I mean, it's kind of, as it prints, it's got a little bit of a wood scent to it. It could just be me going crazy though. But that's what I thought it was like anyway. I want to almost try some wood stain on it. I think that would look really cool. Get a nice like deep like brown, almost like a glossy-ish finish on it as well. That would look really cool. And then I could also almost print some I was thinking some plant pots or some sculptures, just something to sort of go around my house because it's a bit boring at the moment. I haven't really got much up. But yeah, so what I also want to do is with my Octoprint setup. So I've enabled my remote access. Hey, Skewed View, nice to see you. Glad you could join us. So yeah, as I was saying, I'm hoping in the future to get a relay board set up to my Octoprint. So I've got all my ports forwarded so I can check on everything wherever. Yeah, I just thought I'd put some music on in the intro to keep people who come early a bit interested, but yeah, so I'm planning to sort of add a relay board in, so I've just picked one of these up. I think I paid like £1.50 for it off of AliExpress. Been playing around with it on my Raspberry Pi Zero. It's actually really easy to configure. I've never done any sort of, well, realistically, I've never done any sort of coding or anything, but I've been playing around with that. It seems to be pretty simple to work and all that sort of stuff. So I'm gonna eventually try and incorporate that into my Octoprint setup. Yeah, to be fair, the pick is probably best part of 2 years old now. Back when I was living at my parents, so they could afford to fatten me up a bit. But yeah, so yeah, so incorporate the relay board I think would be a really good feature for my Octoprint setup because it adds an extra level of safety. I'm always a bit sort of skeptical leaving a print overnight. I do tend to do it. Both my printers, I've got a CR10 and a Tronix Y PO82, something like that. We all seem to be losing weight at the moment. Maybe this year just seems to be it. But yeah, so the two printers I've got, they're actually really reliable. It's quite funny. I bought my Tronix Y printer. It's actually a Bowden setup. A lot of the Tronix Y ones you see nowadays are very similar to the ANET A8 with their direct-driven extruder. And I bought mine like way before all the hype of the ANET came out, back in, I don't even know when it was, but it was the first printer I bought anyway. And at the time, like I say, I was still living with my parents. I wasn't sure how far I could test it, all that sort of stuff. And then one day I just left it overnight and woke up and it actually didn't burn the house down. So I was pretty happy with it. Skewed, yeah, I actually love my Tronix Y machine. Sometimes I'll even go to it over my CR10. So at the moment, I have got like a 1mm nozzle installed on my Tronix Y. So I can't really go down that route for more detailed models, but if I have like a big print or like a large-ish print or one that's not very sort of high quality, I'll go straight to my Tronix Y just because it heats up so much quicker than the CR10. Like the CR10 is an awesome machine, but the heat bed takes so long to heat up. I'd really like to try the Tornado because that's supposed to have like an insanely quick heat bed. I've not really done that much modding. I've changed the fan setup on the extruder, and to be honest, that's pretty much it. I haven't even really I've added some stability to the Z-axis with some like simple couplers because the holes that were in the acrylic frame were just too big, so it would just sort of wobble back and forth. Really simple print, just like a cylinder that goes on top, just to keep it a bit more steady. But no, actually, I think that my Tronix Y, I think I've got it sort of dialed in perfectly. The only pain in the arse is that at the moment the bed carriage is plywood because the original acrylic one, I know acrylic's not much better than plywood, but the acrylic one actually ended up exploding on me because at the time I was completely new to 3D printing, hadn't really had any experience of it, and I ended up over tightening the bed level screws and it just basically shattered. So I went for the quick fix, which was, like I say, about 2 years ago now, for the plywood bed. I need to get around to actually getting a maybe an aluminium one, or even just a new acrylic one, just something that's a bit more sturdy than this plywood, because that's the only annoyance at the moment, is that I'm just constantly re-leveling the bed. Other than that, I genuinely can't fault it. I think it's a really good printer. Yeah, these 1mm nozzles though, super interesting. I printed the Charmander. No, that was on my CR10, wasn't it? What did I print on my Tron XY? I printed a fair few bits with the 1mm nozzle, and it's surprising how much you'd be blown away by how much quicker it is if you've not tried it already. You just, it's so much less movement, and it's crazy. How many printers have I got running right now? So I've currently just got the Tron XY and the CR10. I did buy this one from Gearbest called like Heatsin i3 or something like that. It's total garbage basically. The frame arrived broken, so they gave me a partial refund because I was like, I cannot be bothered to send that back to China because it's going to cost me more than it's worth. First name is Joe, so call me Techno or Joe, whatever's easy for you. But yeah, so I've got I've got those two printers at the moment, and then I also have access to an Ultimaker Original at work. We have a little hidden room where I can go and hide away in at lunch and print some stuff off there if I want to. But yeah, I also really want to try a Delta style of printer. Like I've seen how quick some of them can go, and I just really want to see how far I could personally push one. So that might be my next purchase. So I've got a couple of things coming up. So, hi Timo, I see you there. You saw my little cock up the other day when I went live without meaning to. Yeah, I was testing out my Streamlabs, trying to figure out how everything was running, but I ended up going live. I was trying to go live on my Twitch because I know I've got no followers on that, so that was fine. I ended up going live on my YouTube instead. Quickly realised it was only a quick 10-second stream, so that's not too bad. Exactly, G.I. Joe. I always used to get called. I used to work in a pub back probably 5 years ago now, and the team of chefs there always used to call me G.I. Joe for whatever reason. I think it is literally just because my name is Joe. I don't think I bear any resemblance to him, so that must be the only reason. Yeah, I really, well, you know, you'd be surprised. I must say, I'm only 21, but I do get a lot of the references, especially some of the ones I get thrown around with G.I. Joe and that. With a name like that, I can't not get it, can I? But yeah, so I think if I'm going to buy a printer, it's either going to be, if I'm going to buy another printer, it's probably going to be a Tornado or some style of Delta printer. I really want to, like I say, I really want to see how good they are, or how much of a pain in the neck they'll be to set up. But yeah, so what other printers? I know Skewed, I know you've got a lot of different printers as well. What do you think of your Tornado? Because I've seen hit and miss reviews of it. Yeah, I get that on a lot of the 3D printing channels as well. Like on Country 3D's channel, he was like, "How are you only 21?" I was like, I'm just ugly." Yeah, yeah, Tornado's good, is it? Yeah, I've seen either people absolutely love it, or people just find some parts of it really shoddy. I suppose maybe there's just some bad batches around, but that you can say that for any printer, can't you? Some have got poor build quality, others are just perfectly fine, and is what it is. You got that autocorrect still on. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not really sure what to do for upcoming projects. Like, Stepper Motor Voltage. Yeah, I remember I ended up blowing up. Well, not blowing up, it's a bit extreme. Ended up messing up the Melzi board on my Tron XY, the first one that I got with it. And I can't remember what I did now. I think I was trying to hook a Raspberry Pi up to it, but without having to plug the Raspberry Pi in. So trying to find a 5-volt rail off of somewhere on the board. Ended up hitting a 12-volt rail, blowing up the board and my Raspberry Pi. So that was a nice. It cost me about 50 quid in the end in total to replace. But yeah, I remember when I got that replacement board, I was like, none of these motors are moving at all. And then I was just having a look at it, and it looked physically fine. And then I was like, oh, there's a trim pot there. I should probably check that's all in good shape and that. And then turns out I just needed to tune that, and they were all fine again. But yeah, that was, like I say, that was back when I wasn't super experienced. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm super experienced now. I just spend a lot of time indoors looking at my printer. But yeah, no, like I said before, the Tronix Y is actually a fairly decent machine. I did have to add a fan actually to the power supply, because typical sort of cheap Chinese power supply did get quite hot. So ended up just salvaging a 12-volt fan from an old PC at work, and then threw it on, and then just threw it on the power supply just to keep it cool because it was getting quite hot to the touch. But yeah, fan to the power supply, fan set up on the extruder. Those are the only mods realistically that I've done to the Tronix Y. I've not even put technically I've put custom firmware on it, but it's a modded. Like the only thing I've modded on it is like the startup text, so it's definitely basically still stock. I'd quite like to try some of these new Marlin features that I've seen going about. They look really cool. I really want to try it on my CR10. I'm just worried that if I mess it up, I'm gonna have to purchase another board and all sorts of other things that will cost me money. So, but we'll see. I'll probably get around to it at some point. One thing that did surprise me about the CR10 actually is that that it's not dual Z-axis. So I thought, having my Tronix Y first, I thought that was going to be like the standard for printers. I thought all of them were going to be dual Z. And when I got my CR10, I was like, well, how does this like evenly go up and down? It seems to do a perfectly fine job. But yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I've recently, I assume the 4 people that we've got watching have watched some of my videos at least. I've recently been like testing around with different ways of getting my prints to stick to the bed. It's a single on Tornado as well. That's interesting. I suppose it's obviously just cheaper, and if it works to a sort of relatively okay standard, then the companies aren't going to be that bothered, are they? It's an extra way to cut costs. But as I was saying, I've been looking at different ways to stick things to the bed, so ways to keep your prints just adhered. I found like these cheap stickers from AliExpress. You pay like £2-3 for them, and they do an absolutely bang up job. Like I actually swapped one out the other day, and it took me ages to get the sticker off because they have this 3M sheet of like cloth, almost like a cloth adhesive on the underside. And it is so sticky, and it's like impossible to remove. I tried like heating it up, I tried doing it cold. I was actually sat there for a solid 30 minutes just trying to like rub all this excess tape off. So the stickers themselves definitely aren't going anywhere. But as for the prints as well, they just stick so well. Yeah, PEI sheets as well. Those are another good thing. But I wasn't sure. As far as I'm aware, PEI is quite expensive, and I'm a massive cheapskate. Like before I tested one of these stickers out, I was just using hairspray, and to be fair, I didn't really need to try one of these stickers out. I just saw them and thought, hey, why not? But the hairspray did an absolutely quality job. Very, very rarely had issues with any prints lifted, and even at the moment, if I find I've got any like lifting on my prints with this sticker, because obviously it will wear down over time, I'll just throw a bit of hairspray on and it just sorts it straight out. Oh right, $15, that's not too bad then, that's probably about £10. That's not too bad at all. I might look into that then instead. But yeah, like I said, for the cheap way, so when I was doing hairspray, I was literally just going into, so in the UK we have this shop called Home Bargains, and it's literally just like loads of cheap stuff for like home things, so like hairspray, just anything. No, I've not actually got round to printing any yet. I saw the Fortnite scar that you guys have done, and I need to get around to doing that because I've been absolutely smashing Fortnite recently, even though I'm absolutely terrible at it, but definitely need to get around to doing one of your prints. Actually, I should probably do one soon, because I find myself sometimes when I've done one project. So when I did my massive Star Wars figures, I was like, oh okay, what do I do now? And then for like weeks, I just didn't do anything. It's just I need to get some things lined up basically in my itinerary of stuff to print. What I was thinking about one. Oh really? No way. That's good. That's really cool. One thing I was thinking about the other day is the whole master spool concept, right? And I know this is completely unrelated to what anyone said, but I just thought I'd bring it up because it's something I thought about the other day. So the idea of it, I think, is really cool. The fact that you don't have to pay for I mean, realistically, you don't pay for the spool, the actual spool itself, but the fact that you no longer have to incorporate the weight of that into your materials, I think that's a good idea. But then I thought, okay, so you've loaded up your filament, you've loaded up, you've cut the ties, you've screwed it all together. What do you do when that's over? And you don't want to buy another like master spool compatible load of filament. Like I understand that the spool itself is reusable, but like in my opinion, anyway, I think a cardboard spool. I mean, the cardboard spools that I've used, so the ones that I've had cardboard spools from are 3D QF, who sell the filament's so cheap and it's amazing quality, and they come in cardboard spools. And I've literally had no issue with them at all. A lot of people like kick off about them saying how rubbish they are, but I've never had any issues with them at all. And I think like the idea of recyclability and sustainability is like so much better with a cardboard spool than it is with this master spool, because at the end of the day, let's say every printer in the world stops working, even those that have used master spools aren't going to be like recyclable, but those that have got cardboard spools, you just recycle that whatever. That's just my view on it anyway. Like I said, I really like the idea of it. I think it's a really, really awesome idea. But at the end of the day, you are still going to be left. But at the very end, you will have a spool that is empty. And that's why I think the cardboard ones are a bit of a better step in the direction for like sustainability of printing. That's one of my pet peeves is how much waste printing makes. Like I love the whole 3D printing thing, but just the waste that it makes is so annoying. Because it's not easily recyclable either. Like I've looked into all these filament extruders and make your own filaments, all these sort of things, as I'm sure most people have. But yeah, well, is it classed as recycling when it's just sort of left in a hole? But yeah, it's definitely one of my pet peeves that 3D printing isn't more sort of environmentally friendly. I'm quite big on all the sort of plastics and try not to use them where I don't need to. So every time I go out to a pub or out to just McDonald's or something, I never get a straw anymore because I don't need to. And I'm always putting all my sort of stuff in recycling, and it just really sort of pecks at my head that I can't put my failed prints in there, because I'm sure everyone's got a massive collection of prints. I've got like a bin that I probably empty probably about that big. I have to empty it like every month. But then again, I don't do too much printing, as much as I want to anyway. I just run out of ideas. But yeah, I think one thing that is an issue, so there are kits out there that you can buy, but I think the markup on them is too much. So if people, I know there's like that, it's got Precious Plastic, where they've released all the plans for it for free, and it's really cool. It's a really cool concept, but it's still. It's just something that's not easy to make. I think if someone could make like a super easy just kit that you put together, charge like 150 quid, so 150 quid is probably about $200-ish, I would guess. I mean, I'd pay that. If someone said, "Oh, you can recycle your failed prints," it'll take you a while to get your settings dialed in for your extruder, I'd be like, yeah, give it a go. You'd pay the same for a printer. So I'd pay the same anyway for an extruder. So, Scoot, what time is it? Obviously, because you're in the US, what time is it over in your area? Because obviously here it's, what time are we on now? We're rocking up about 25 past 8. I know every time when Country 3D makes up his morning coffee stream, it's like midday for me, so... Okay, cool. So I wasn't sure what time to sort of post that, because I was trying to find a time where people weren't going to be in work, although that would have to be like 10 o'clock when people, if people work typical 9 to 5. So it's a bit more difficult. Oh, right, okay. But yeah, it's quite hard to same time zone if you're certainly north. Yeah, it's quite hard to find a good time that suits all time zones really, because I mean there isn't one realistically. Um, I think if I was to do a stream that was aimed at the America side of things, it would probably have to start about 11 p.m. And if I've got work the next day, it can only really be on for an hour or two at most. But yeah, I mean this one in itself is only sort of see how it goes. I mean I haven't got any immediate plans to to do any more, but if this one's relatively successful, I mean I've got 4 viewers, so it's better than no viewers. But yeah, maybe I'll think about doing one in the future. I need to definitely get my Octoprint set up so I can actually keep something running in the corner. Like I said today, it's just been giving me so many issues. Like nothing wants to connect, nothing wants to stay online. Yeah. Well, that was it for me. I mean, I've only recently bought a desk for my computer as well. I used to have it just hooked up to my television, and the annoying thing is there's no room where I have my printers for a computer. Well, there is room for a computer, but not a proper desk setup. So I have to just sort of have this in my living room. But yeah, I mean, I've been umming and ahhing about doing a stream for a while because I've been watching a few of countries' streams. They're not always super. Everything's 3D printing. Sometimes you just hang out and have a chat sort of thing, and I quite like the informal style of it. So I thought I'd give the same sort of thing a go. But yeah, it's a similar thing for me. Skewed. Like I haven't really got like the full setup. I mean, this is just a webcam that I had lying around. Seems to be decent quality, which is a bonus. But yeah, I definitely need to get my Octoprint working so I can have something going on in the corner just to say, oh, look what I'm printing. But yeah, like I said, Octoprint's really good. Like when it works, I find if you haven't, I mean, like I said, I was saying earlier, I've recently just switched to a powered USB hub because I've got 2 printers and 2 webcams, and because it's not a model with built-in Wi-Fi, I've got to have a Wi-Fi dongle as well. So I found that my printers kept printing, but my server just went offline, so I couldn't monitor them, couldn't pause them, couldn't do anything with it. I just had to sort of sit there and let it go. Because if I had pulled anything out of the USB ports, then what would happen is it would either just stop the print where it is, and then I wouldn't be able to resume it, or it would just completely shut down pretty much and reboot. So yeah, Octoprint's a really great tool. It's just if you haven't got the right power requirements, then it just becomes a pain to keep steady. But other than that, yeah, it's really good. Let's have a look at so I was looking as well at the Creality Ender 3. Like that's mad cheap for the sort of quality of a printer that I assume you're getting anyway. I haven't actually tried one out, but they look really well built. I mean, to me, it just looks like a mini CR10 or an even minier CR10 mini. I don't know what the build volume of as a CR10 is, but I was having a look at it the other day, and it looks very similarly built to a CR10. The fact that it's only $200 is mad. Like that's so cheap for a printer that's got aluminium extrusions. Yeah. So you got one of you. And that's of course actually yes. I remember you putting a video up. Obviously a bit of a pain to get prints to stick to the bed, but other than that, pretty good. What's the build volume of it? Is it 200 by 220 squared? Is it roughly cube? Sorry. Medical model? No, I'll have to check that out. That sounds interesting because every time that people in work, they'll always approach me about the printer, and when I tell them that it's just sort of plastic and stuff, they ask me, "Oh, what else is going on with 3D printing?" And I always bring up the biological aspect of things. Okay, cool. Yeah, 220 cubed ish, we'll call it. But yeah, for $200, I think that's the steal if it works reliably. I know the CR10 is quite a reliable machine for me anyway, so I assume, given it's from the same company, it's going to be somewhat reliable. But yeah, I always bring up the bioprinting aspect of things because that's such an interesting area, and it's still quite a new area as well. So if we could one day like print, yeah, 220, 250. So That's a really decent build volume. I mean, like I'd definitely say for a starter kit, if it's decent. I mean, like I said, I haven't tested it first time, but if it's decent, I'd say go for that, because that's steal for that price. You get 220, 250 mil. That's mental. I think my Tronics one, I think I paid, so including my import fees, I think I paid about £160. So that'd have been just over $200 at the time, I think. But yeah, that's an acrylic framed one. To be fair, it's pretty. I mean, I don't know whether I've just done it well or it's actually like a well built machine, but it's fairly decent. I'm happy with it anyway. But for $200 for that's for an aluminium extrusion frame as well. That's a really good deal. Yeah, I remember seeing ages ago that people were like, "Oh, we might be able to print organs and all this sort of stuff." I was there like, "No way is that going to be a thing." But like, when you look into it, it's like there's definitely something that's a possibility. And there's always the question that comes up with food printing as well, and I'm like, well, some people are doing like chocolate and gummy sweets, and then obviously there's that pancake printer as well. But I mean, that pancake one, I really love the idea of it, that you can just be like, oh, let's print, let's have a pancake that looks like the Eiffel Tower or whatever. But it's not really three-dimensional, is it? It's more of just it's almost like a plotter rather than a printer. It's a pancake plotter, really, because he's just got like a flat thing. There's no third dimension, realistically. You've just got the thickness of the pancake. But yeah, people seem to love food printers for whatever reason. Oh, and the construction printers. So you see these ones are like, oh, this house was printed in a day. And I always criticise it. I'm like, well, was the shell printed in a day, or was the house fully put together in a day? Because, printing a shell of a house is easy to do. But then you've got to put your electrics, your water, your doors, your windows, like literally everything else. And it's like, oh yeah, you can do that all in a day. It's like, oh, okay. The idea of it's really cool as it is. Like, you save so much time than bricklaying. Although I don't know how well insulated they are. I mean, that's another thing I thought about. Like, would you? Because the ones I've seen anyway have a gap. I don't know whether you would fill that with some like insulation foam or something like that. But in its sort of shell form, it just looks like it'd be really cold. But they'd be cool to see in action, like just something on that scale. I remember going to TCT last year in Birmingham, and they had some absolutely massive printers on show there. Yeah, very starchy, I guess. At the TCT show, they had some huge printers, but at the same time, I was like, for me, so FDM printing, you can only realistically go so big until it's like, well, you might as well be just, you might as well just scale up and go injection molded or just a different approach. I'm not, as much as I love FDM printing, just because it's definitely the hobbyist route and it's definitely the easiest way and the cheapest way to get into 3D printing. I don't think that it suits being huge, because like at the end of the day, you still got to feed in that tiny, realistically, 1.75 mil, even the 3 mil diameter filament. It's going to take ages to print like a huge part. So while I appreciate the aspect of being able to print something that's like the size of a human, it's just not practical. You'd be easier taking different approaches to your requirements. But like I say, at the end of the day, it's really cool. And TCT show is full of free filament samples, so I'm definitely going back this year. So what I'd quite like to see in the UK as well, because I know in America they have like Murph's just been, and then I think it's like Earth or something's coming up. All these sort of rep festivals. If we had something like as big as a following as that we could do something similar to that in the UK, that'd be awesome. Like, I really want to. It'd just be good to meet up. I'm sure there are meetups. I just probably haven't looked hard enough for them. But I think I don't know. The only, in my opinion, anyway, the only huge like expo of 3D printing is the TCT show, and that's only once a year, so that's a bit boring. But yeah, it'd definitely be great. I have to do some more research, see if there's any more meetups and stuff like that. Surprised that 4 people are still watching, actually. I feel like I'm being really boring. probably shut this off at 9, so in about 25 minutes. More of just a testing stream, see how it all goes. Hey Derek, how you doing? How's all the Sunlu filament going? Yeah, I was saying before, I picked up some wood filament before from them, so I've been testing the waters with that a bit. It seems really easy to print. I'd quite like to try some flexible filaments. I did actually get some. Obviously, I did the giveaway of also Sunlu filament. But the issue is, I tried it on my CR10 and I just could not get it to print. Like I could get one first layer to print really cool, really smooth, really like level and everything. And then as soon as it started moving up, it was just not having it. So I think ideally I could do with like a direct driven extruder if I was going to do any flex filaments. But obviously that'll have to go on hold until I actually get one. So we'll see if that happens in the future. If not, I'll have to just stick to my Bowden setups. Flex is your nemesis, yeah. I think the idea of it's like a really, really awesome idea. You know, you can print some off and it's squishy and all that sort of stuff. Not a big fan of pet. See, I've got some Petya and I haven't actually tried it. The thing is, I don't have any applications for it. Most of the stuff I print tends to be just sort of models and stuff. ABS. See, I also tried ABS back when I first got my printer, and I just could not get it. I could not get it to go at all. But I think it's because I didn't have an enclosure. The room that I was printing in wasn't at all hot. It had a radiator, but it was never on. But yeah, I could sometimes get like the first few layers good, and then it would get up and it would crack and just lift. And I ended up just getting rid of the rolls of filament that I had and sticking with PLA. I mean, like I say, all the applications that I use my printers for are more than adequate with PLA, and it's easy, it's just so easy to print with, and it's what I'm used to. So I always go for PLA, unless something needs a stronger sort of element to it. I'll just stick with PLA. Yeah, I need to get around to testing out some Petya. I've got a couple samples. I think I've got one from Filamented. Really like Filamented filaments. It's just I don't need any more at the moment because I've got so much and so little to print. I say so little to print, so little inspiration of things to print. So I'll definitely check out some of your models, Skewed. Try and check out your scarf from Fortnite as well. That'd be pretty cool. See how big I can get it on the CR10 and print it in a couple pieces, get like a full-sized one. I think another thing I might do as well is compare different slicers, because I've only ever used Cura, and the latest version of Cura, I think it's like 3.3 or 3.33 or something like that, would not open on my computer. I was like, oh, there's a new version, downloaded it, uninstalled the previous, tried to open the new one, and it just wouldn't have it. It kept crashing, just wouldn't open. So I want to try a slicer that's got customizable supports, because a lot of the time when you on Cura, the support that it generates for like overhangs and stuff are really good, but then it'll generate them in somewhere where it's not necessarily needed, and then you just got unnecessary support, so you're wasting filament there. And then if it's on the exterior of the model, you then got like scarring on the outside of your model, which is always a bit of an eyesore as such. Saying that, I don't use PLA for things that need strength, actually. I did. So my parents recently sold their ping pong table that they had. I mean, we had it for, must have been about like 5 years. We just never really used it. We used it when we first got it in the summer, and then as me and my brother got older, we used it for beer pong when we had our mates around and stuff. But we recently sold it anyway, and one of the net posts was broken, so that it actually snapped. So basically I took the snapped part and attempted to recreate it in Fusion 360, so ended up with this. This is actually, I think the issue with this was the screw holes weren't deep enough for this specific one, but the one that works is actually on the ping pong table and has been sold. And I spoke to the guy who I sold it to, and he says it's working fine. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. But this is 3D-QF PLA again, and the one thing that I really like about the black filament is it's got this really nice matte finish. A lot of the blacks that I've used all have that glossy finish, and I just think it looks. I think a glossy finish on black plastic makes it look like really cheap. It's just personal preference. So I really like the matte finish of this. But yeah, so the model itself is actually printed with, I think I set it to like 80% infill, so it's a pretty sturdy part. It's a pretty heavy part as well. But what I noticed with the previous posts is that basically the post would bend over time. So how does ABS do without an enclosure view? So when I was saying before, when I tried it very poorly, it didn't. I tried maybe 3-4 different models and in a few different time periods, and I just couldn't get it to print. So that's why I stuck. But yeah, so this one, I say this is just standard PLA. It's not even like PLA plus that's supposed to be strong, whatever. But like you can because of the infill, it is so strong. Like that's not just me just sort of putting a little bit of weight on it to show that it bends. Like me pushing quite hard on it, and it's pretty decent. Yeah, it was a really nice day for us as well. Actually, in the UK, I think it was pretty much sunny all day, and I think the only time I've been out is to get some milk. So. Yeah, working today, and then sitting around getting milk. But yeah, so I mean, a lot of people slate PLA for being really like crap and brittle. But hey, Mike, how you doing? Nice to see you dropping in. So I'm probably only going to be doing it for another 15 minutes or so, but it's nice to see you here anyway. But yeah, like I really like PLA filament. It's just my go-to filament all the time because it's so easy to print with. And if you print it right, it can actually be really strong. So, and I did see this thing. I think who was it? It was Tom from Tom's 3D. Did he like baked his prints? I really want to try doing that as well because I think he said he put it in for like an hour or something at 60 degrees. I can't remember what his exact times were, but he was saying that the actual prints just became so much stronger. So I'd really like to try that, although I'm not sure how confident I am with putting 3D printed parts in my oven. I don't know if I want to risk that. But yeah, no, that'd be an interesting one to try out. Although I'd have to compensate if I was doing anything that was going to be sort of structural. I'd have to compensate for the shrinkage. But yeah, that's fair enough. I'll try and stay on for a bit longer then, so you can have some more time in work. Who doesn't love to leave the office later? But no, like I say, I'll probably finish up in 15-ish minutes. But yeah, has anyone else got any like interesting things going on with their printers, or anyone got any interesting projects going on at the moment? Like I say, I'm doing the Settlers of Catan tiles at the moment. I need to think how I'm going to do the like the cards, whether I'm just going to print them off and laminate them, whether I'm going to order a set. I looked at ordering a set of like replacement cards and stuff, and it was like 15 quid. I mean, you can buy the board game for 20, so that kind of defeats the purpose. So I might just see if I can find a resource or even just make some myself, whip a few pictures together and just print them off. But the tiles that I've done so far, like I think most of them, too many projects, not enough time. Yeah, I wish that was my issue. Like I seem to have a lot of free time in the evening where I just can't think what to do. Like I don't want to print for the sake of printing. I mean, I've done definitely I've done all the time. 2 different Stormbreaker designs and a couple of Mario. Okay, Mario Coin, that'd be cool. Assume Diva Tornado is TiVo Tornado. To my knowledge, it's a silicon heated bed, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. Skewed Views got one, so maybe you could enlighten us on that. Yeah, he loves his PEI. Brains Custom Shield. Oh yeah, I saw that. Why did I just say Brains? Brian's Custom Shield. Yeah, I saw you mention that on Country's stream earlier. What's the MK3 like? Obviously, it's got all these awesome new features that are totally like unique to the field of printing and stuff. Like how is the Mark III as a printer? Like I know it's obviously going to be a great printer because it's from Prusa. But yeah, would you say it's worth the money that it? Cause I think it's about £700 for the kit, which to me anyway is really expensive. Ah, okay. That'll explain what the Diva Tornado is. If it's just a sassy printer or something, doesn't it? It only does it when you treat it well. Only does well when you treat it well. But yeah, I do definitely want to try one of the Tornadoes out. Maybe try and get a hold of one at some point. I want to see how good they are compared to the CR10 because they're two machines that are super similar. I want to see if one pips the post like better than the other, whether it prints better, if it's easier to set up. I mean, the CR10 was well easy to set up. Straight out of the box, it's literally like six screws, which is nothing compared to my Tron XY that I got, which I think it probably took me the best part of like 2 weeks to put together. That's just because I was at college or school at the time, so it's just sort of after college, and then leveling it was a pain in the arse. I could never get that right. I think that's to be fair. I think that's the same with everyone. When you start out printing, you just sort of throw yourself in at the deep end. I certainly did anyway. Bought myself the cheapest thing I could find that looked decent, and see what I could do with it. But yeah, no, I think now that I've got, I mean, I've had that, like I said, I've had that going for 2 and a bit years now, and it is sometimes the printer I go to over my CR10 because it just heats up quicker, and the CR10 I feel like heating it all the way up to, so I always print, well, most of the time I'll print with a heated bed, and that's the one thing on the CR10 that just takes absolutely decades to heat up, especially compared to my smaller Tron XY printer. But I think that's probably just because of its size, other than anything else, which is fair enough because you sort of compensate for it, don't you? But yeah, I still remember getting when my first printer came in, I was like so excited, put it all together, and I was like, oh, it doesn't work out the box. time to sort of get your inner tinker around and figure out what's wrong with it. Ended up I put something in backwards or upside down, I can't remember now. But yeah, when the one thing that really sort of like got to me was when I got my first print, and looking back on it now, I've still got it. It was a little, what was it? It was a Charmander, but it was in black, and it was just the only filament I had at the time. And when that came off the bed and was completely finished, I was like, this is the best thing ever. I'm going to print so much with it, and it's just going to be amazing. But looking back on the quality of it now, I'm just like, what is that? That is a total mess of a print in comparison to what I've been able to achieve on them now. But at the time, it's just such an awesome feeling when something that you've put together, it's like Frankenstein's monster. It's like, wow, look what I've created. But yeah, definitely come a long way. It's quite weird how I got into printing actually as well. My job is absolutely in no way, shape or form related to anything creative. I don't do any sort of making or manufacturing or design or anything like that. I work in IT. And we just happened to have a printer in the office one day, and I was like, that is cool. I want to find out more. So that's exactly what I did. I went and spoke to the guy who brought it in. Got a quick sort of crash course on how it works, and then just sort of went from there. So I bought my first printer, bought another one, well, got sent another one, and I'm at the stage now where I'm like, I want more printers. If I had the money and the space, I would just fill my house with printers, and just have like a little farm going. But like I say, I haven't got the money, I haven't got the space. You got to think about your energy bills as well. Imagine if I had a farm of printers going, I think they would probably skyrocket. But yeah, it is what it is. 2 printers is more than enough for me. I probably don't even use them enough to warrant 2 realistically. But it's always nice to have more than one. So one of the things that I do want to get around to as well, actually, in the future is I think it must have been about a year ago now, I made a Raspberry Pi games console. So basically just did it super cheap, used an old phone box and power bank and all this sort of stuff, just sort of like threw it together, glued it all in place, and it worked really well. It was actually a really decent little thing. I think I want to design a case for that. Like, I know there's like a million designs on Thingiverse, but one thing that always annoys me about Thingiverse is if you want to replicate someone else's work, so you want to build their Raspberry Pi machine, you want to do something with them, with their design, you have to get the exact same parts. And I just prefer to get the cheapest things and then throw them all together. And so that what might work for one might not work for the other, but it's for me anyway. Like I say, I'm like a massive cheapskate, so I'll just go for the cheapest thing, and if I can get it to work, then it's a bonus. And if it doesn't work, you know what, I gave it a go, and I'll just buy something more expensive that does work. But I always like to give the cheap things a go. I think like a lot of the times I've ordered a lot of just like bits from China and stuff, like little electronic bits, and I think most of them haven't failed me. China's obviously got this reputation for fudging everything, so no worries, Ski, no worries. I thought you were going to send me some sort of like secret code, but no, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I bought all sorts from China, and I can't think of a single thing that's caused a catastrophic issue. Maybe like an LED doesn't work. Doesn't really matter, does it? It's just a light. But yeah, so I was having a look at the Ultimaker S5 actually. That looks really cool as well. With this it's supposed to have like a really nice touch screen as well. Shit, brilliant. Yeah, the Ultimaker S5 looked really cool. I really like Ultimaker printers. They're like the first sort of 3D printer that I saw. And obviously, I saw the original, so the laser cut wooden frame. And at the time, I was just like mind blown. Like, this is crazy. And yeah, like I like Ultimaker printers. They're pretty decent machines, but they are just like well expensive, well beyond my personal budget anyway. But I mean, I know some of the maker spaces I've been to, they've got kitted out with Ultimakers and all sorts of like fancy printers that can print in. Print in like acrylic, and I think one of them prints in like gypsum, which is crazy. Like, some really cool stuff. But yeah, I think as well it's a bit overkill for my needs. And as I was saying before, I pretty much only print in PLA, so it's to drop like £2,000 on a printer for only printing PLA when I can do that perfectly fine on a £160 machine. I mean, it just seems unnecessary. And especially with things that being so in the 3D printing community being so open source nowadays, you can easily throw a machine together that's going to be on par with its quality. It might take you a while, it might be a bit difficult to source certain parts, but because everything, well, not everything, but a lot of the 3D printing communities, like intellectual data, I suppose, is open source and just in the public domain. I think it's really good. It's really awesome. It just allows for development and progression of the whole field, which is obviously awesome. And I think at the moment, anyway, in my opinion, Prusa is definitely leading the way with the progression of the field. Obviously, his design, his initial Prusa model is probably one of the most replicated models out there. The whole style of 3D printing is probably based, a lot of it, on on his knowledge, which is awesome. And the fact that he's just not gone, actually, you know what, I'm going to keep that, and I'm just going to sell printers for a ridiculous cost. I think that's quite a humble thing to do. Really impressive. I'm kind of running out of things to say. I should probably plan, if I do this again, probably have like a few topics to discuss. But yeah, I didn't. I just wanted to see how it would go. So I'm probably gonna wrap it up there, guys. Appreciate everyone who watched, especially the guys who were in from the start. You know, it means a lot to me that even 6 people at the moment would tune in and watch. Yeah, I'll let you get back to your days or your nights and go to bed, whatever time zone you're in. Yeah, again, thanks so much for watching. If you actually enjoyed this stream, feel free to leave any comments or anything down below. Subscribe, you know, all the usual stuff. And yeah, I'll keep you posted if I do any more or anything like that. So again, thanks for everyone who watched, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers.